Hello, I am Avery Applehans, and for my internship, I went to James Lewis Elementary with my old kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Gempler. Okay, this is the lessons I taught. When I was at my placement, I read a ton of books, probably like two a week. I also would give them these, they're called fast pencil tests, which are basically like 12 questions of either addition or subtraction, and they had a minute to answer the questions. And if they got 9 or more right, they passed. And I would grade them, and they got to pick something out of our prize box if they passed for the first time, which is so fun. I taught a math cloud and raindrop lesson, which is the one I did with our class. They loved it and they did very well with that one, and each of them turned out really different, which was so cool to see. During our centers, I would play like a math game with them, whether it's like sorting or practicing making 10, or we even played like the game Shut the Box, if you know what that is. Lastly, I did a punctuation lesson where I read a book, and anytime I saw period, I would like click my tongue so they know. So anytime during writer's workshop, whether they're talking or they're reading or they're writing, they have to click their tongue, so it gives them in the process of using punctuation. Okay, so this is the things I learned, which is a lot, but since they are so little, if you don't explain the lesson in full detail, then they might not understand, or they might just come out completely different than you want the lesson to come out. I also learned a lot of information about how to deal with behaviors and IEPs. I sat in a lot of meetings during her plan period, and so that was very interesting. Another thing I learned is that you might have to explain something a little bit different to each kid because they all learn differently, and some things might help some kids that won't help others. Other major thing that I noticed is their moods change throughout the day. I shadowed my teacher for a full day, and I noticed a lot of the kids starting to act up towards the end of the day, or some are very energetic in the morning and then just not want to do anything in the afternoon. A major thing I also learned was I found out how much their home life really affects how they're doing like academically or how they're behaving at school, which is very sad to see, but it's very interesting at the same time. I had so many favorite parts, but I only picked a few for this. But one of them is getting to work with the students one-on-one. There's only like 17 in the class, so just getting to know them and know how they learn and just getting to know them was so much fun. Also, celebrating every little accomplishment was definitely one of my favorite parts because to them, everything is a big deal. So, for example, when the whole class passed their ball words, we got them pizza. And one kid who really struggles finally passed his sounds and letters, so his mom ordered the whole class pizza. And that was just so fun. My all-time favorite part was just seeing them grow from the beginning to the end of the year. There was so much growth in the kids, like academically and also socially. I just loved seeing that. A major thing I will take with me is that to knowing that all students learn differently. I kind of said this on a different slide too. You might have to teach every student in a different way, but that is how they grow academically, which is really cool actually. Another thing is dealing with parents. I saw how she dealt with her parents, and she contacted them every day, whether it was good or bad, or she just tries to keep them involved in what they're doing in class. So a huge thing I noticed that really matters to little kids and their learning is the atmosphere. The decorations around her classroom were so bright and colorful, and when she switched something out, they noticed automatically just because they're so aware of their surroundings. Second was all the resources she had in her room. She had like the number line and sight words all around her room. They had these seat sacks on the back of their chairs with everything they need in it. Like you can kind of see in this picture, they have like a whole book study. They had the Val Town. They just have like a bunch of resources around her room. The last thing is her setup, which like her desk is at like the very front corner of the classroom by the whiteboard, and so it's easy for all the students to come up and ask her questions, and she can see everyone. Yeah, so another thing is she had little tents for centers like around the room, so they can pick a tent to go read in, or she had a big cabinet with crowns, color pencils, markers, so they can just get up and get what they need without having to ask. I have a ton of thank yous. First of all, I'd like to thank James Lewis Elementary for just being so welcoming and kind every single day. I would like to give a big thank you to Miss Gimpler. Obviously, she taught me so much, and the students and the parents for everything they gave me, like this shirt. They pitched in a bunch of money, and they gave me a ton of stuff on my last day, which is so kind. Lastly, I'd like to thank Mr. Mayfield for this class and being so understanding and just everything. So